Hello and welcome to the Daily Debate Live Wednesdays with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Tonight we'll be talking more than one important topic. We will be tackling COVID-19, which is still there and persistent. However, through our sense of persistence and the precautionary measures that we are undertaking, and with the leadership support and the government precautionary measures in place as well, the different procedures that have been taking place in Egypt, thank God things are under control. We'll be talking more about the future of this nightmare of COVID-19 and when is it time to say that we are safe? When are we going to get rid of our face masks? How can we further boost our immune system? Many questions, you know. Every one of us is just asking, when will this end? And when are we going to return to our normal life and our normal lifestyles without COVID, free of COVID? More and more questions are going to be directed to my dear guest, who is really very influential in this field at the National Research Center and a very high and distinctive caliber in that field. I have all the honor and pleasure to have with us Dr. Dunya Chouair, who is the professor at the National Research Center. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Taghreed. It's all a pleasure to be with you tonight.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And together we'll be reading all those questions, you know, many questions on our minds, all in all. But let's first take the top stories of the day. Checking the stories and partnerships to achieve sustainable development under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Minister of International Cooperation announced the launch of Egypt International Cooperation Forum, the ICF. The first edition of this forum is held under the slogan Partnerships to Achieve Sustainable Development, and mainly aims at bringing together the concerned parties to promote joint action and support the UN agenda to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and mobilize international efforts to counter global challenges. The forum was attended by the high-level officials from Africa, from Europe and Latin America, heads of international as well as regional financial institutions, representatives of the private sector and the civil society. And in his recorded speech delivered during the first edition of the forum, President al-Sisi stated that humanity is facing its most difficult test in a long time as it counters several challenges represented in the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic and repercussions of climate change. The President had stressed in his speech that those challenges impose a new reality and that requires more innovative ideas in decision-making. The head of state added that Egypt is one of the first countries worldwide to develop a long-term strategic plan to achieve sustainable development by 2030, pointing out that the objectives of Egypt's Sustainable Development Vision for 2030 is consistent with the UN goals. In that regard, President al-Sisi stressed the importance of achieving African integration through activating the executive mechanisms of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The President underscored the states shouldn't disregard the different economic and social conditions of emerging and developing countries that have been affected by COVID-19 pandemic, a matter that hinders their ability to participate in green recovery, as the governments cannot alone achieve green recovery that has become a top priority. Welcome back, and as we all know, ever since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had launched the national project for developing the Egyptian family, it mainly aims at elevating the quality of all the social health and the cultural dimension of the family life throughout the whole nation, nationwide. The head of state has always been keen on calling for the completion of all aspects of this comprehensive mega national project and to deal with family development issues based on the current realities. A very important project, and Egypt had successfully put down a foundation like the 100 million health, 100 million صحة, and that great structure that has been put in place definitely contributed a lot to facing COVID-19 and the challenges, because there has been a defense line, thank God, in that regard. Well, as I said with Dr. Donia, we'll be talking about COVID-19, the future of the pandemic, and what are we expecting. But first, let's have this report on the topic, and we'll be back.
Within the next weeks, Egypt aims to vaccinate over 6 million people with at least one shot of the 5 vaccines currently in use in the country. Minister of Health Hala Zaid said that one goal is to ensure all students, teaching staff and administrators in schools and universities have received at least one dose of vaccine before the start of the new academic year. According to Zaid, locally produced Sinovac vaccines will be available for use, helping to boost vaccination numbers, and the ongoing monthly production of the vaccine is scheduled to come in at 15 million doses. To date, Egypt's vaccination campaign has included the use of the imported version of the Sinovac vaccine, along with the Sputnik V, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Sinovac, and Sinopharm vaccines. The ministers of Health and Finance, along with the Prime Minister, have all reassured the public that resources have been made available to ensure at least 40% of the population is vaccinated before the end of the year. Noteworthy that the manufacturing of Sinovac vaccine doses is part of an agreement signed between the Egyptian Holding Company for Biological Products and Vaccines, known as Vaxera, and the Chinese biopharmaceutical company Sinovac. This approval comes as part of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's instructions to provide a safe and effective vaccine to face the coronavirus pandemic.